Hello class, and welcome to this DuckTales 2 NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. We have a bit more of a story this time around, but the game itself isn't too dissimilar from the first DuckTales, which is NES Classic. I think the best-selling Capcom game, which Fluff explained when we did our class on that. You can check that out. Link in the description for that. In terms of difficulty, this is a bit easier than the first game. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to biting down on your controller, maybe during the handful of pits here and there, but overall, this game's not too bad. It's still a Capcom game, and one based on a Disney property, which means it's not too difficult. But we're still going to show you everything you need to know to beat this game in this DuckTales 2 walkthrough, how to get all the different endings, all the secrets, how to get the lost treasure, which is a big part of this game. So let's run the intro and get into this DuckTales 2 NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Alright, let's start a new game. We're just going to stick with normal mode, which means we can take less hits before we die than we could on easy, but not a big difference otherwise. So we take a look now at the controls for DuckTales 2, very similar to the first game. In this one, you don't have to hold down to pogo when you're in the air, just hold B and you'll pogo, which I admit is an improvement. To do the golf swing, just hold next to the item you want to swing at and tap B. Pretty much similar to the first game. We take a look now at the Briggs notes. These are the keys to beating DuckTales 2. First, speaking of the pogo, master the art of pogoing. Very important that you are able to get around in this game using the pogo. Whether you're trying to golf swing or whatever you're trying to do, just make sure you know how to use your cane as a pogo stick. Don't ask me the science behind it, it just seems to work. Secondly, always carry cake. Blaze will tell you how you can buy some after this stage. And lastly, stock up on lives and continues, which we can also buy after every stage. Blaze will show that as well. I guess Scrooge is a bit less miserly in this game. He's more willing to spend his fortune if it means staying alive. But you can see we used our cane to pull that little barrel over so we could get the height we needed, as we have the first map piece, actually. But yeah, that's a new mechanic, just being able to grab things and pull them over. As Scrooge's greed has got him trapped here, but thankfully Bubba's here to bust us out. While he's working on that, let's go to Blaze for an overview on the items we can pick up, the money and the different items we'll find in these stages here in DuckTales 2. Blaze?
Alright, let's talk about the items you will find in DuckTales 2. First, once again, all about the money. We have 3 denominations. The little gem, worth 1,000. The bigger gem, also yellow, 10 grand. And then the one you want to keep your eyes peeled for, the ruby, the red gem, 50 grand every one you pick up. And then we have the ice cream cone, similar to the first game, restores 1 unit of health. We have the 1-up doll, which gives us an extra life, shaped like a cute little Scrooge McDuck. And then we have, new to this game, pieces of the map. Collect every single one to get the special treasure stage.
Thank you very much, Blaze. We come down here and go to the left, and we can talk to Gyro Gearloose, who's going to give us one of 3 augments for our pogo. As he said, this one allows us to break through otherwise unbreakable objects. So that's nice. I don't know why we have to do this business in the field. Why can't you just, give me this, all these upgrades back in Duckburg? We're good for it. We got the money. If Scrooge is willing to spend 60 grand on a cake or whatever it's going to cost after this, we'll find out in a second, then I think he'd be willing to spend a bit more on his walking aid that he takes everywhere with him. Grab some extra cash here. Money's not as important in this game as it was in the first one. Has a different effect on the endings, which Fluff will talk about a little bit later, but yeah, we don't need to, and I did that wrong, that's alright. Destroy the one on the right if you want to do the golf club swing to get to that top left chest there. It's a very simple puzzle, as most of them are in this game. And speaking of money not being that important, in the first game you would be encouraged to head back to Duckburg with Launchpad right there, and bank your cash. But in this case, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, we need some money at the end of every stage to buy certain items, which, again, Blaze will talk about after we clear this first stage, but you're gonna have more than enough money for the most part, and yeah. Should be just fine. So we're not gonna go out of our way too much to make all the money, but we will be going out of our way to get all the hidden pieces of the treasure map, one in every stage. And there's one we can also purchase from the store after one of the stages. So I could have some cash for that, but otherwise I like to ignore the nephews whenever possible. Be very careful transitioning on these little hooks here. Gotta line these up, otherwise it's a quick death, as we are the only duck in the world who doesn't know how to swim apparently. Unless it's in a giant vault of coins, which I'm still not convinced wouldn't break his neck when he dove headfirst into him like he likes to do, but I digress. We have our first boss, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's boss beater. Alright, Firequacker. I like that. Stay in the middle of the screen and just time your pogos to land on Firequacker. Avoid his projectiles, but like a lot of the bosses in this game, Firequacker, not too difficult.
Thank you very much, Gary. Get the treasure, and now we're going to the store. What sorts of things can we buy, Blaze?
Alright, the items you can buy at the end of every level. First, the cake restores your health completely. You can use this on demand in the field. Very important to have one of these. Second, you have the safe. If you have this and you die, you don't lose your money. You have the continue globe, which unsurprisingly lets you continue your game when you run out of lives. And then you have the extra health unit. When you pick one of these up, you get an extra unit of health, max of 2, so 5 units of health is the max you can have in this game. Prioritize those, but there you go, the items you can buy in DuckTales 2.
Thank you very much, Blaze. So once again, we can hit these stages in any order. This is just the order that we're doing. I don't think I want to go to Moo yet, actually. I want to go to the pirate ship second. At the Bermuda Triangle. I'm gonna get the sacred tear, the famed jewel of the mermaid's teardrop. There it is. It's funny how they're all worth exactly $1 million, but let's not split feathers here. I think we have to talk to our nephew here. We're stuck. We'll never get past the mast. Look at it. And then act of God. See, even God wants us to be super greedy and collect all these treasures. Even God hates Glomgold feather pants or whatever it is. I forget the name of our arch rival, but I'm sure Fluff will talk about that a little bit later. Just like with the first game, there's money that spawns when you jump around in different areas. We can use Arcane to get the 10 grand right there from the conveyor belt. This piece of music reminds me of another, it's like a lesser piece of another Capcom track that I can't quite think of what it is. Something from, there's like a little bit of the final Nightmare Land in Little Nemo, but I don't know, hearing a few different things. We get an extra life right there. Something from Capcom. Maybe the Magic Kingdom game. Definitely not. Just want to see if there's any cash hidden up there. There's something. So obviously these floats, just knock them down, and then hit against the wall to get some momentum to get moving there. Grab 50 grand. Sometimes those hooks are dangerous. They can grab you when you don't want to be grabbed. Just wait for the projectile to be dropped from that bird there before you move on, otherwise that can be a very difficult jump. Up here we can go to the right, and there's a false wall. Hit this, bounce up, and then don't go for those chests. Instead, keep going to the right here, bounce up, and you will find yourself another piece of the map, and an easy one to grab at that, actually. Now we can grab these treasures down here. 20 grand. Yeah, those hooks are a nuisance. They'll be in play when we take on our next boss here in just a minute. Gary will talk about that. These, you want to weigh them down just enough so that you can get the height that you want. Your weight will drag them down, so just keep that in mind. Be careful. Grab the ice cream there. And thankfully those birds always drop The proximity effect, when they get close enough to you, they'll drop it, but it'll be far enough away that it won't hit you. Just hug the side here and talk to Gyro again. Now we're able to break things that a normal golf swing couldn't. Got 2/3 of the augments. Some of these upgrades you do need for certain parts of levels, so it's not the worst idea to go in the order that we're playing here. Nothing in that corner there. Could bounce off of his head if we really want this chest right here. Worth a cool 50 grand, so why not? And before we head to the boss, do the golf swing here. Just gotta wait long enough to get lined up. And it's just some cash, so let's go to the boss, Gary.
Boss beaters. Right, the pirate captain. Gonna make up a lot of these names, but feel free to correct me if you know the proper names of any of these enemies. You want to stay higher than the pirate captain and just drop through the gaps of those hooks to bounce off his head. Just be very careful to hit those gaps. You don't want to accidentally be caught on one of the hooks when you're trying to bounce on his head. That's a good way to take damage. Repeat this process, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yep, exactly what I was talking about. The hooks come in handy there, but you also don't want to get caught and get smacked around. As we have 1.8 million, we can now purchase a piece of the treasure map. So certainly grab that when it becomes available for the first time. We're going to need this if we want to get to the special stage and get the slightly better ending. Again, it's an NES game, you know, even when a game features more than one ending, they're not going to be too dissimilar. Alright, now we can finally go to Moo, right there in the middle of the map. This island here. One of the trickier stages to get the map piece in. We need to drain the water out here in Moo, and see, we need our arcane upgrade there to get knock those pieces out of the way. So it's a good thing that we went to the pirate ship earlier in Bermuda. For golf swing to grab that 10 grand. Got these duck-themed Easter Island statues. So we can't pull that heavy thing just yet until we talk to Gyro right here. This is the final power adapter, which will allow us to grab things we couldn't pull before, like this little weight right here. As we grab this treasure up here, let's go to Fluff for our first Fluff fact about DuckTales 2.
Released in 1993, DuckTales 2 was one of the last Capcom games released for the NES well into the SNES era. The game follows the general formula laid out by its predecessor, with non-linear level choices, but introduces some new mechanics like the ability to hook and grab certain items, and getting upgrades to Scrooge's cane power and abilities from Gyro Gear Loose. It was also included as part of the Disney Afternoon Collection, a 2017 re-release for then modern generation systems, which featured the 6 Capcom NES titles based on the TV shows of the Disney Afternoon, a television time block in the late 80s and early 90s featuring animated shows based on DuckTales, The Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. The collection stayed largely faithful to the original games, but it included some bonus artwork and the ability to rewind games in real time to make them a bit easier and more accessible.
Thank you very much, Fluff. Yeah, played a bit of that. It was a weird feature, being able to play these games that you're so familiar with, and then if you fall into a pit or something, just, never happened. Alright, so here we want to knock out... Our nephew gave us a tip on this earlier. We want to knock out the second and third from the left positions, and then drag over those little weights. When they're in that position, that will cause the island to, I guess, jump out of the water a bit more. You think? I guess the idea was that the water receded, drop down, but in any event, we now have access to areas we couldn't get to before, like this right here. So we can drop down, grab this one up in this otherwise inaccessible area. Got a hidden treasure just like that, but we have our eyes on tastier prize in the form of a map piece. So make sure you go the way that we're showing you here, especially on the way back. The 2-trip is pretty straightforward. Just go where you can go. Obviously need to have all of the cane upgrades at this point. Do a couple golf swings right here. It's a hassle going through all this. Takes a while to line all these shots up. But there is our chest. And there we go, just knock those out. Got a piece of the map. So now if we head back, you'll see some of these blocks have filled back in. This time we want to stay up. And make sure you do that, otherwise you can get trapped if you start going the low route, and you can see why you wouldn't be able to get through that part below us right now. So stay high right here, and then once you're at this point, just keep smacking your way through and you'll get back to the main chamber. You can climb back up, and we're pretty close to the boss at this point, actually. One of the more difficult bosses in the game, I believe, but we'll let Gary talk about that. There's 60 grand. Climb up. Head to the left. We have the next boss. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, Robo Duck. Bounce off his head for most of the battle. You can't get hit if you're always on top of him. You use the openings when there's a box on the floor to grab one, toss it at him, and then jump right back on his head as he transitions from side to side. You can duck or jump under his Robo arm that he fires at you, his hand. But repeat this process, you'll take down Robo Duck. Probably the toughest boss in this game, but still not that hard. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Gary. I think Ganon would be offended if he knew that we used his likeness in the context of a DuckTales 2 boss, but nevertheless, we get a little greedy, a little restless here. Not even trying to jump on the head technique, which Gary just, there we go. Does work pretty well. Smack him. One more hit should do it. A little embarrassing. We pulled off some rather impressive no-hit runs recently, or no-death runs, I should say, recently. This would be an embarrassing game to end that trend on. There we go. Oof. Alright. Almost looked like a whole piece of the map right there, a whole map, I should say, but we got Moo's Treasure. We're 60% through the stages in this game. Of course, we have the hidden stage once we get the final 2 map pieces. Grab that special energy to max out our life at this point. And now if you want to grab Continue Globe, the safe, some cake, it's your prerogative, whatever you want to buy. And that ought to make you happy, Uncle Scrooge. That should warm your cold, dead heart. The idea that you can keep a little extra money. $50,000 for a safe, and Scrooge doesn't bat a duck eyelid. It's a banana, Michael. How much could it cost? $20? That's basically it. Heading to the sand now. It's kind of like Pharaoh Man stage a little bit. It's like they had some of that stage left over and said, you know what? You got DuckTales 2 coming out. Just don't let it go to waste. Obviously, you'll fall through the floor there. That's going to happen regardless. There's different ways to go in this stage. We're not going to get everything. We're not going to get all the money. The only thing we really care about is the map piece. So drop down right here. Weigh this down to get some Mega Man style platforming jumps here. Make sure you're pogoing. And if we had talked to our nephew, he would have given us a clue as to how to do this next puzzle. But basically the solution is you want to bounce 3 times on 1, 2 times on 3, 1 time on 4, and then 4 times on 2. And the door will open and you will have the second to last map piece. Assuming you're going in the same stage order that we are right here. Now just head back the way you came in. Once again, make sure you're doing the pogoing so you can make these transitions. And he'll probably give us the clue right here. What's that supposed to mean? I already figured it out. Useless. How'd you get down here? don't know why I hate the nephews so much, I just do. Climb up here, and as we are doing this, let's go to Fluff for another Fluff fact about DuckTales 2.
I mentioned earlier how DuckTales 2 is one of the later releases for the NES. Released in 1993 when Nintendo's focus had all but completely shifted to their next generation Super Nintendo, later released games for the NES had far shorter production cycles and as a result had relatively fewer copies made. As such, DuckTales 2 is one of the rarer titles for the NES and consequently one of the more valuable games. In consulting current prices on eBay, even a used and blemished working copy of the cartridge without the box will fetch $300 to $500. According to PriceCharting.com, if you include the box, the game's value jumps to over $700, and if you have a brand new, unopened copy of DuckTales, you can fetch up to $3,500.
Might need to check my collection. Thank you very much, Fluff. See if there's any gems in there that I forgot that I had. Any of the rare later stuff. See, just like a lot of people, I was very much fully on to the SNES stage in the early to mid-90s, so yeah, I didn't play a lot of these late NES games, so didn't own them either, but anyway, coming up on the next boss, let's throw it back to Gary.
Boss beaters.
Alright, King Tut, you want to dodge his shots, and then Pogo, as he retreats, just repeat this process. Don't get greedy, you will take him down.
Good call, Gary. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the collection as we're taking on Tut here. My brother and I, we obviously had a lot of games when we were kids, and we just kept collecting them. We got into the business of collecting. Not, paying top dollar or doing anything online, mind you, but just for a long time in the early, I guess the aughts, we were, every time we'd pass a thrift store or a game shop or something like that, late 90s and the early 2000s, we would just check it out for any NES games. A lot of pawn shops had them kind of early on, back before it was a collecting thing and it was more just, people were trying to get rid of their junk. So pawn shops would get these games and, just charge a few bucks for them, and that's still the going rate for a lot of these games. But, yeah, some of the rarer games, which had a shorter production cycle, like Fluff mentioned, like this one, the later titles, certainly worth quite a bit more. So we're headed straight for the final piece of the treasure map here in the castle, the Scottish castle. And this is gonna break up this stage, basically. It's as soon as we have it, it's gonna send us straight to the bonus stage, the hidden stage. Hang out, wait till this frog goes past. These moving platforms are definitely straight out of Mega Man. But that was their main series. They put out as many of those games for the NES as they did for the whole Disney Afternoon Collection, so it's impressive how he pogos on those spikes there. Alright, head right here, and with full speed, just keep going. That's the only way to make that section just jump to the right there. And there's the final map piece. It says we head to the special stage to get the best ending in the end. Let's learn more about the other endings with Fluff.
Unlike its predecessor, DuckTales 2 has a few slightly different endings depending on how you play the game. There's the normal ending, which you'll see along with the bonus of getting all the treasures, which will also feature here. But there's also an alternate ending if you beat the game with $0. Here we see that Flintheart Glomgold, the game's antagonist, and Scrooge's arch-rival, finds the secret treasure and gets deemed the greatest adventurer in the world. Although I'm not sure exactly how official that title is.
Yeah, the greatest adventure to some news anchor? I mean, come on. Do they have a lucky dime? I don't think so. So, I don't know, maybe that's what the special treasure is. I don't know, as we're here in the basement of the castle. Don't linger on these platforms here. drop down and cut through here. Again, there's different ways you can go when you're here in the castle. This is just the way that we're going. Be quick with the reaction speed there. Just more money to be had. Not necessary to beat the game or anything. Again, that's just incredibly impressive, the coordination that you have to just the very small end of that pogo stick. There's a lot of illusionary walls here, as you can see. False walls, if you will. Bounce off his head, and I think there's a cutaway here, yep. Grab an extra life there. And there's another section that we cannot get to from here, unfortunately. Not a big deal, it's just money. Said Scrooge, never. It's very un-Scrooge-like, but that's alright. Gotta be very quick here when you bounce off the wall. Make sure you duck quite quickly. That was very close, unnecessarily close there. Alright, we got some treasure up there, and we got the special boss, Gary.
Boss beater, the sorcerer. You want to commit to one side or the other when they duplicate themselves, and then just pogo over the projectile, land on the head, repeat this process, you'll take them down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, the boss here is the exact same boss when we come back to the castle upstairs. He just has a couple different moves, but yeah, he's not difficult, as you can probably tell. Probably could have done this on a harder difficulty, but again, it's just for the glory. There's no special ending for playing on the harder difficulty. So you can see, if you accumulate all the money, if you don't spend anything, you can make about as much as you did in the first game. But again, when you're, trying to buy pieces of the map and we're not getting health upgrades from Bubba or wherever we're finding them, then, things... It costs a bit more money in this game, so... Alright, anyway, we're gonna make a beeline straight to the boss this time. Sorcerer Part 2, or Part 1, I don't know, however you wanna slice it. Interesting that they're still alive after our last run-in, but that's alright, I suppose. And the music not especially memorable. The first one, there's nothing on the standard that was the moon level. One of my favorite pieces on the entirety of the NES. Not just Capcom, which, some of the best themes were in Capcom games anyway. But yeah, they definitely outdid themselves with the moon stage. Takes you on a roller coaster, that theme. Haven't even talked to Launch. I guess we did talk to Launchpad at some point, but not interested. Don't need your help. Thanks just the same. So before we just went to the right to find that final map piece. In this case, we're just gonna head left, start the platform right there. Bounce off. Drop down, we're coming up on the Sorcerer once again. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, the Sorcerer revisited. I guess the normal Sorcerer fight, if you didn't do the bonus stage. You want to commit to one side or the other once again. Just pogo over the projectile, jump on their head. If you're always moving, the lightning probably can't hit you, so just keep moving. Once they land and are about to do something, which you should be doing anyway to jump on their head, but yeah, you'll take them down.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate it. Yeah, that lightning is a little far behind us, Sorcerer. I think sometimes, one of them seems more pronounced, and a lot of the times that's the one that shows up, but then a lot of the times it's not, so it's not always the best tell. Or an accurate tell. Alright, so we're gonna beat this with about $7 million. Again, it doesn't matter how much money you have. As long as it's not zero, like Fluff pointed out. Which one's Webby? Sorry. Glomgold. Oh, you're kidnapping my niece now? It's messed up. Poor innocent duckling. Makes me think of that scene in Breaking Bad when one of Jesse's friends that was pushing for him gets killed, and Walt can't think of what that... He's like, which one is that? Is that the heavy guy? I don't remember. Just a little bit insensitive, but anyway. As I love it, Scrooge just hands over the money. I guess it's for Webby, for her interest. But Gary, take us home.
Boss beaters.
All right, Flintheart Glomgold, the final boss in DuckTales 2. You want to stay right next to him. On either side, duck under the kicks. When he touches down, just do a jump and pogo on his head. Repeat this strategy. It works, I promise you. You'll take it down pretty quick, and just like that, you have beaten DuckTales 2. Congratulations.
Good call, Gary. Thank you very much. Good work today. I'll split the 7 million with you. How's that sound? D1000. Alright, so... Oh, there she is. She was just admiring that side of the ship. He didn't actually even tie her up. So he was willing to sink all the treasures just to kill us. And to kill Webby, too. That's a little dark. So we lost all the treasures, and then... It's too bad we lost all the treasures, but at least we've got each other. How about that? It's like Scrooge learned a lesson throughout this adventure. Suppose true friendship is all you really need for happiness. Yeah, the real treasure was the friends we made along the way, right? Or the family we get to keep. That old adage. Treasure safe, what? Say that again? Doofy, or whatever your name is. Oh, look. Our treasure is safe. There we go. That launch pad flying it away. Why is he headed to Mexico? Anyway. Oh, look at that. And there's the hidden treasure that we got, which I guess is worth all the same as all the others. Kind of takes the piss out of it a little bit if you ask me. I mean, that one treasure that was worth $1 million was just right there and was easier to grab in Moo than getting that piece of the map for this treasure. How come they're worth the same amount of money? But I digress. Forget it, Professor. It's Duckburg, right? Well, that's our time for this week. If you haven't already done so, we encourage you to subscribe to enroll in this class. We do one of these classes every single week. We would love to have you enrolled. Click that like button if you don't mind. It really does help us out to make future classes for you. And leave a comment. Did you ever even play this game? Probably played the original, but yeah, not as much love or looks at the sequel. Very late in the NES's life, but there you go. Not a bad game, but maybe not the most necessary sequel, but I still enjoyed it. Hopefully you did as well. Hopefully it's a little bit easier for you now and you know all the ins and outs of this game. That's our time though. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class, right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.